Okay, so we're going to take a look at the UC application today. The first thing is finding it, and we can go up here towards the top and just type in something like UC Apply. It'll usually be the first thing that pops up. And if you're a new applicant, you'd start your application right here. If you're signing in, you can just click on this one. And it's a really good website. You can log in and log out as many times as you want. So you can certainly start. And then if you get lost or you're not sure where to go from there, you can always just log out, come back in as many times as you want. So I'm going to jump into my fall 2021 application here. And like I said, I just want to cover some of the things that international students often have the most questions about. I'll jump into the About You section first, and all this information is going to be fairly simple. None of this is actually true, but the area where international students are going to want to pay special attention is the citizenship and residency area here. So you are going to type in the country of your citizenship. You'll most likely be indicating that you're on a non-immigrant visa in the US and probably indicating that you're also an F1 student. But remember that everyone's immigration status is a little bit different, so certainly make sure that this area is put in there correctly. But the majority of international students at DVC are going to certainly fall into the F1 status. Social Security card, probably not. Most of this is not particularly critical in terms of whether or not they admit you to the campus. A lot of this is really just them collecting data to have a really good idea of who their students are and where they're coming from. One of the other areas, demographics, background are all easy. Household, they're going to ask sort of who you lived with, what was the annual income of your home. And again, just do your best to be as detailed as possible. It's fine to have a guess here. They're really just trying to have a good idea, again, of where their students are coming from. This will have no bearing on whether or not they accept you. As an international student later on, they're also going to ask for a certificate of finances to prove that you have the income to be able to support yourself while in the US. But this is not that area. They'll ask for that certainly later after they've accepted you. Parent information, they're going to ask, if your parents went to college, how recent was that? So all this area is fairly simple with the About You piece. When we get into campuses and majors, they're going to ask you to read through the list of values and then move on to which semester you're applying for and information about your transfer. So you're going to be indicating that you're a transfer student. You'll be indicating that you're a junior level transfer. Even if you have more than 89 units at DVC, you're still going to indicate that you're a junior level transfer. If all your units are at DVC, you can have 100 units without any problem, but you want to make sure that you indicate junior level. If you have a bachelor's degree, that's where you would select this one. But if you have a bachelor's degree, I would recommend that you come in and talk to me or one of my colleagues at DVC very, very early on in your DVC experience. As we move on to campuses, you're just going to select the different campuses that you're interested in. You'll either select it here on the map or it'll sort of default to this box. I'm indicating here that I'm interested in Berkeley, Davis, and LA, and you'll see each box that I click will add on to this estimated cost that will continue to go up with each click. So this one application goes to everybody. So when we talk about personal statements later on, that's where you have to be very, very savvy to recognize that all of this information goes to all of the different campuses. So you don't want to say that you're interested only in one, and you want to make sure that you know who your audience is. As I move on to my majors, it'll explain what an alternate major is here. So Berkeley doesn't allow for alternate majors, but basically all the other campuses do. And it's basically, if you're not selected for your first major, they might consider you for a second one. And it's fine to have a little bit different selection here. I indicated econ for Davis, and then if I don't get in for Davis, that I would possibly be interested in political science. And then on my application, in the personal insight questions, I can always indicate that I'm interested in things like business, econ, law, and international trade. I can have a lot of different interests, and that would allow me to sort of apply broadly across a number of different majors. And I get into academic history. They're going to want information from your high school. You'll indicate the language of instruction at your high school, when you graduated if you did. Remember, you don't have to have graduated from high school in order to transfer to the university. That part, again, is not going to be one of the things that they pay much attention to. But they want to make sure that all the information you put in here is accurate. With colleges, you're going to most likely indicate DVC, when you started, it's a semester school. You're going to indicate whether or not you graduated or get a degree or certificate. It's fine to not get a degree from DVC. That, again, will have no impact on whether or not they consider you for admissions. With college courses, you want to be very detailed. You want to make sure that the information that you put in here is exactly how it shows up on your transcript. So if you took a class that doesn't transfer, if you took something like English 116, Architecture 135, those courses don't necessarily transfer, but you always want to indicate exactly what you took. If you withdrew from a class and you got a W, you'd want to indicate that on here. If you failed a class and then repeated it, you'd want to indicate that here. I indicated that I took a class here, pass, no pass, but in general, make sure that everything that shows up on your transcript for DVC also shows up in this area for academics. That's probably it for this section. Let me move on to test scores because that's one that a lot of students will have questions with also. But yeah, if you took AP or IB, you'll indicate that. TOEFL, you don't have to indicate this. They're looking for English proficiency primarily through the English courses that you take at DVC. So you can certainly select no. Again, this has no bearing on whether or not they admit you. If you did take the TOEFL and you're really proud of your score and you want to put it in there, I mean, certainly that's fine. But this is not one of the areas that they're going to pay a lot of attention to, and it's fine to just say no. Same in international exams. I would say take a look through that. If your exam is listed there, I would indicate it. Again, you just want to be as detailed as possible, as honest as you can be. TOEFL, though, is not one of the areas that they pay any attention to, so it's fine to say no. Activities and awards. With this section, they give you the option to have 20 different activities. So you can type in things like work experience, clubs you were in, and again, you want to be as detailed as possible. I indicated that this was a job at a coffee shop. They give you a certain number of characters. I would elaborate more than I have here to make sure that you really tell them what it is that you did and what the company is. You do not have to fill up all of those characters. The people reviewing your applications have a lot of applications to read, so you don't want them to be trying to figure out what you did because you wrote so much. You want it to be as concise as possible, but as detailed as possible so that they can understand what you did in as few words as possible. Job responsibilities, I would certainly elaborate. You can always do bullet points, but in general, I would say complete sentences, but you don't have to worry about filling all that up. As I go to scholarships, a lot of students say you should not apply for these, but that is just not good information. I would recommend you go through all of these and select everything that is applicable. I have had international students receive scholarships upwards of $20,000 as part of their acceptance into some of the different campuses. So you want to be honest, you want to go through and select these different areas that you are interested in because you will be considered for scholarship opportunities either as part of transfer or after you arrive at the campus. That's kind of most of the UC application. The area that's obviously going to take the most work are the personal insight questions, and I'll put up a different video with recommendations for that one. But the UC application overall should take only a couple hours to fill out. The personal insight questions, those are going to hopefully take weeks or months of outlines, planning, reviewing, editing before you feel confident in submitting those ones. As always, come by and see us in counseling if you have questions on any of this. And you don't have to submit your UC application basically until the end of November. There's no incentive to get it in early, but I would recommend not waiting until the last day just in case you have any technical issues or problems.